Your home should support your life, not drain it. I'm Katie Trudeau, and this is the Whole Home Living Podcast. Here, we talk about simple, plant-forward eating, realistic rhythms, and small systems that help your home work with you, not against you. No perfection, no pressure, just practical shifts that make everyday life feel lighter, calmer, and more nourishing. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to the Whole Home Living Podcast. If making food decisions feels like a part-time job, today's episode is going to change that. So imagine it's 6 p.m., you're staring into your fridge, you're exhausted, you're hungry, and your brain is doing that thing where it cycles through every possible food options and finds something wrong with all of them. Hopefully that's not just me. Hopefully you know what I'm talking about. All of your options either have too much sugar, not enough protein, it's too processed, too boring, will the kids eat it? By the time you've finished that mental loop, you've wasted 15 minutes and you still haven't made dinner. This, my friends, is decision fatigue. And it's one of the biggest reasons people give up eating well. Not because they don't care, but because choosing what to eat has become so mentally exhausting. So today, I'm giving you a tool that eliminates the exhaustion. It's called traffic light eating. And it's the simplest, most practical framework I've ever used for making food choices without overthinking. And friends, I am a big overthinker. So just like a stoplight guides you safely through an intersection, this system guides you safely through every meal. All right, so we are going to dive right in. Okay, here's the thing that most people don't realize. You make over 200 food-related decisions every day. 200! What to eat, when to eat, how much to eat, whether it's good or bad, whether you should or shouldn't. Then you add in making decisions for other people's food. What fruit should I serve my toddler with dinner? Did I cut their sandwich into squares or triangles today? The list goes on. And that's not even including all of the other decisions that we make on a given day. The reality is that every one of those decisions requires your mental energy. And when you're already tired from work, kids, life, you know that you don't have energy to spare. I don't have energy to spare. So what happens? You default to whatever's easiest. You grab the takeout menu. You eat the same boring thing you always eat. Or you spiral into guilt because you, quote, failed again. I've been there. I've been there. It's Friday night. I don't have another mental ounce of energy to make another decision. So it's takeout. And you know what? I know I'm not alone in that. Traffic light eating helps remove that spiral, and it gives your brain a simple visual system that makes decisions faster and easier without judgment, without stress, and without needing a nutrition degree. And that's what I love most about it, is that it's not a diet. It's not deprivation. It's not about any of that. It's just learning to make conscious food choices that support your energy, your mood, and your long-term health, one meal at a time. It's just about making those decisions and making it easier to decide what to eat. So let's talk about green foods. So you know that when you're driving, green means go. So green lights, they're your everyday power players. These are foods that give you energy. They're good for mental clarity. They're always good for you. And you can eat as many of these as you want because they're packed with nutrients that your body loves. So here's the question. How do you know if something's a green light food? Okay. Nice thing is we have a little checklist. So green light foods are grown. They're not manufactured. So if it's something that's grown, check, it's a green light. It's low in calories, but high in nutrients. So think like vitamin, minerals, fiber. Green light foods, even though they're just, we think of them as green, they are naturally colorful. So yes, the green foods show up here, but so do the bright oranges, the red foods, even purple. Purple cabbage as a green food. Green light foods are usually eaten raw or minimally processed. Green light foods include all fruits and vegetables, and these are foods that fuel your body the way nature intended. So here's the thing. When you fill most of your plate with green light foods, you notice that you will naturally have more energy, better focus, and probably an improved mood. But why? Because when you eat green light foods, your body is finally getting the nutrition that it's been craving. All those vitamins, all those minerals, all of those phytochemicals, phytonutrients, this is where they live. I want to be clear about something. You cannot overeat broccoli. Yes, you should eat broccoli, but you can't overeat it. You cannot gain weight from eating too many apples in a day. Your jaw is going to get tired from chewing all of that kale and all of that broccoli before you physically can overeat apples, broccoli, kale. And that's why green light foods are your safety zone. And you also, when you're eating in this category, want you to think about eating the rainbow. So as I mentioned already, that green light foods aren't just green, and that's intentional. So one of the easiest ways to boost your nutrition is to eat the rainbow. Each color in a fruit or vegetable represents a unique set of phytonutrients and plant compounds that help your body from inflammation, oxidative stress, and chronic disease. And the color kind of corresponds to what nutrient is in that food. Red foods like tomatoes, red peppers, and watermelon are rich in lycopene, and that antioxidant supports your heart health. Orange and yellow foods like carrots, sweet potatoes, and mangoes, those contain beta-carotene, which your body converts into vitamin A for healthy eyes, skin, and immune function. All right, next we'll talk about green. Green foods like spinach, kale, and broccoli are packed with chlorophyll and sulforaphane, and those are known for detoxifying and their anti-inflammatory properties. All right, next up in our rainbow is blue and purple foods. These are my kids' favorites, blueberries and purple cabbage. Those are not together. Those are separate, blueberries, purple cabbage, although now I'm thinking maybe I should experiment with those things together in the kitchen. Either way, those are loaded with anthocyanins, which improve memory and support cardiovascular health. Side note here, just yesterday, I believe Dr. Greger from nutritionfacts.org posted on Instagram a picture of blueberries and said, if your child has a test, feed them blueberries the morning of their test to help their brain. So that's a fun fact that I like. Next up is pink foods. So that will be our strawberries and raspberries. Those contain another antioxidant that help with inflammation. And then even white and tan foods, so our garlic, onions, mushrooms, those are rich in allicin and other polyphenols, which all boost your immunity. Big tip here. If you are going to cook garlic and onions, chop it and let it sit for at least 10 minutes to let that allicin get really activated. Otherwise, if you cut it and then immediately cook it, you lose a little bit of that. Chop it and let it sit. All in all, the more color on your plate, the more diverse your nutrient intake is, and that's just better for your body. So the next time you prep a meal, look at your plate and say, how many colors am I eating? If it's mostly beige, add a few splashes of color. Your body will thank you, but so will your taste buds. All right, so now we're going to shift gears and talk about yellow light foods. So yellow light, we're going to slow down. So I don't know about you, but when I went to driver's ed, they taught us that yellow lights are for slowing down, not step on the gas and try to get through. So we're going with the old school definition here that yellow light means slow down. So I want you to pause and think before you eat a yellow light food. Yellow light foods are not bad. We're only pausing because they are richer and more calorie dense. In fact, you do actually need to eat yellow foods every day. You just have to be a little bit more mindful about the portion. So with like broccoli, for example, you can eat a lot of broccoli. Yellow light foods are more nutrient dense, so you need to be a little bit more careful with portion size just so you don't get carried away. Yellow light foods often contain important nutrients that are not necessarily in green light foods. So, healthy fats, plant based protein, complex carbs. Yellow light foods have these in larger amounts than the green light foods, and they can add up quickly. So what is in our yellow light category? That would be beans, lentils, whole grains like quinoa, brown rice, oats, nuts, seeds, nut butter, avocado, tofu, tempeh, whole grain breads, and whole grain pasta. Now, almost all produce is a green light food, but avocado, a little bit of a different story. Our avocado is a yellow light food. And our little avocado is incredible for you. It's full of healthy fat, fiber, potassium. But if you are mindlessly eating guacamole straight from a bowl while watching a movie, you could easily consume 500 calories without even noticing. So we want the guacamole, we want the avocado. We just have to watch our portions a little bit more with yellow light foods. So again, I'm going to say it again because it's really important. Yellow foods are not bad. We need them. We just have to pay attention. Put it another way, handful of almonds, great, so good for you. Eating half a bag while you're standing at the counter, maybe not so much. So before you reach for seconds of a yellow light food, ask yourself, is this food supporting my energy and my goals right now? Am I actually hungry or am I eating out of boredom? Sometimes the answer is yes. And yes, I'm actually hungry. I am going to eat this second scoop of rice with beans. So perfectly fine. Just make sure that whatever choice you make is a conscious choice, not an autopilot one. All right, next up, we're going to turn our attention to red light foods, and these are the stop and think foods. Red light foods are the ones that can derail your calorie budget, they can derail your long-term health if you eat them too often. They definitely deserve a pause. So red light foods are usually high in sugar, unhealthy fats, artificial ingredients, and they're usually low in vitamins, low in minerals, low in fiber. So in short, red light foods give you a lot of calories and maybe some other unwanted ingredients without much or any nourishment. So examples here, soda, sugary drinks, candy, pastries, ultra-processed snacks, fast food, burgers, fries, chips, fried foods, processed meat like hot dogs and bacon, packaged frozen meals with sodium and preservatives. Now, that's just the smallest. And what I want to kind of emphasize here is that traffic light eating does not say red foods are forbidden. That is diet culture talking, and we're not doing that here. So red foods are, I'm not going to say evil. It's just a food. But you need to just be very conscious about, you pause and you ask yourself, do I actually want this? So am I tired? Am I bored? Am I stressed? Am I just eating because it's here? Sometimes the answer is, yes, I want this. It's my birthday. I'm going to have a piece of cake. I'm enjoying this. Great. Sometimes the answer is, no, I'm actually not hungry. I don't need another cookie. I'm just stressed and this was easy. This is all very useful information for you to keep track of. Maybe what you actually need is a walk or a glass of water or just 5 minutes to breathe or some other healthy outlet for stress. And also, red foods should not be your daily default, but they're also not a moral failing. Just want to be clear on that. If you are at someone's house and they have a birthday party and you eat a piece of cake, that is not a failing. We are talking about what you do day in and day out. And here's another thing that I want you to think about is red is a spectrum. So if you think about a rainbow, you see that the colors change from yellow to orange to red. So traffic light eating is a spectrum as well. Within the red category, there are, in my personal book, some red foods that are never items. So my personal list of no never is things that contain known carcinogens or things that are just actually truly very harmful to your health. For example, the World Health Organization has listed processed meats as a known carcinogen. So processed meats includes like hot dogs or deli meat, particularly the ham because it's cured. Those things are no-nevers for me. But there's also red foods that are tweaks. So these are red foods that you can enjoy occasionally or swap out for slightly better versions. So, for example, you might make a homemade cookie with whole wheat flour that is sweetened with maple syrup, and that would be a much better red light food than one that's made with seed oils, corn syrup, and artificial dyes. Both of these are red. You shouldn't eat any cookie in excess, but one is a little less harmful and detrimental than the other. So again, the idea here is direction. Every small choice you make toward better ingredients and less processing is important and it counts. All right, so another part of this spectrum is that it's not rigid. A singular food can shift from green to yellow or even red depending on how it's prepared. So if you have a baked potato and you have kind of make a Tex-Mex baked potato and add salsa and black beans on top, that's mostly green and yellow. But if you take that same potato and turn it into French fries, and that would then be red. All right, let's talk about fish. So if you ate a baked piece of fish, that could be yellow, but if you deep fried that fish, it becomes red. All right, now here's my other favorite one is an apple. Okay, an beautiful apple can go through all three colors. Go to an apple orchard, you pick that apple off the tree and take a bite, it is green. If you take that apple home and you add tiny bit of maple syrup and mash it up and turn it into applesauce, it is yellow because we've added some maple syrup. We have to be a little bit more mindful of the portion. If you take that apple, chop it up and add a lot of sugar and butter and add a crust, that apple is now red. So the closer your food is to its whole natural state, the greener it is. The more that it's been processed, fried, sweetened, or refined, the redder it moves. And once you start seeing food this way, you'll notice that these small choices actually make a really big difference in how you make food, just the decisions you make of what you keep even in your pantry. It just helps make those decisions come a little bit easier. All right, here's a question I get a lot, and the question I hear is, where does meat fall into traffic light eating? All right, we're going to unpack this. So you can follow traffic light eating and still include animal proteins, or you can follow it completely plant-based. Either way, the foundation stays the same. You still want to eat more foods that come from the earth and fewer that come from a package. Now, at Whole Home Living, we primarily follow a plant-based diet, especially after reading the China study and How Not to Die. So the research is clear. The less meat you eat, the better it is for your long-term health. And in the world's blue zones, so those are places where people live the longest, healthiest lives. They have the most people that live to be 100. Meat is never the main event in those areas. If it's eaten, it's done so sparingly, just a few small servings per month, and it's usually used as a flavor enhancer rather than the star of that meal. Now, Dan Buttner's research found that blue zone cultures thrive on about 95% of their calories from plants. So that only leaves about 5% of their calories coming from animal products. So that might be a few eggs or a small serving of fish here and there. They're definitely not counting like deep fried fish as part of that. So that would be a lean fish. So if you do include meat, it would fall either as yellow or red, but not green. If you are choosing to eat animal protein, look for pasture-raised, grass-fed options that are free of hormones and antibiotics, and skip anything that's cured or heavily processed. Those are classified, I said it before, as known carcinogens by the World Health Organization. So on my absolutely no nevers on the red is anything that's a known carcinogen, and that's where those fall. So prioritize fish and chicken over red meat, and definitely over processed meat. Processed meat has also been linked to higher rates of colon cancer and just inflammation in general. So we still want plants to be the star of your plate. Okay. Question number 2 I get is, what about fish? What about eggs? What about dairy? So again, even in the blue zones, these foods are eaten in moderation. So for fish, that's less than 3 ounces up to 3 times per week. And if you go that route, look for small or low mercury species like sardines. If you eat fish, make quality and sustainability your guideposts. You want to look for wild caught, not farm raised. Personally, we focus on plant-based omega-3s. We add a lot of chia seeds, flax seeds, and walnuts to our oatmeal to get some of those healthy fats that way. Again, eggs, another common question. In the blue zones, that might be, per week, but it's often alongside vegetables or grains. All right, now dairy, that's the big one. And for many people who are considering going plant-based, it's always the cheese that's hard to give up. But the reality is that cow's milk is very rare in the blue zones. Dairy is used, but it's often goat or sheep's milk, and it's often fermented. These are much more common ways to get dairy in the blue zones. We've cut out cow dairy completely because it caused inflammation and digestive issues in our family. Not to mention, research has it linked to acne and certain hormone-related cancers. Fortunately, though, these delicious swaps like cashew yogurt or avocado-based ice cream make it really easy to go dairy-free. So if you're in that category and you're saying, I just could never give up the cheese, I just see how it goes a couple days without, and you might be surprised with how you feel. Next, I'm going to talk about what do I always avoid? So let me be crystal clear about 2 categories that are always on my avoid list. I've hinted at this before, but I just want to say it again. Number 1, artificial ingredients. So artificial dyes, artificial sweeteners, fake anything, preservatives. Those things don't add nutritional value, and they may disrupt hormones, gut health, and just your overall wellness. So we take a pass on those. Number 2, seed oils. These are highly refined. They're stripped of nutrients, and they contribute to an imbalance of omega-6 and omega-3 fatty acids, and all of that having that ratio be off can drive inflammation. So for us, those are not sometimes foods. Those are get them out of your house foods. And that's what I mean for that spectrum of red. Like, yeah, I love chocolate chip cookie. That's my favorite kind of cookie. But I don't bring in the ones with the seed oils or the artificial flavors. I'll make my own without those ingredients. So I can still have my red treat, but a little bit better. Now, when you're tempted, I do workshops every couple months, and in my last workshop, someone said, I struggle with this particular kind of food. How can I overcome this? So I have a little something for you to think about. If you are battling your willpower and you're trying to resist a particular red food, I want you to think about what Jocko Willink said in his book, Discipline Equals Freedom. He said, "Those donuts aren't food. They are poison. They don't fuel you. They don't make you stronger, faster, healthier, or smarter. Hold the line for your health, your mental toughness, and your will, which is stronger than the will of a donut if you choose it to be. Discipline equals freedom. Let me unpack that. So saying no to that donut or whatever it is that you're tempted to eat is not about deprivation. You can get so many more things that you can get. It's not focusing on the deprivation. It's about your power and your choice. When you pause and you choose a nourishing option over the less nourishing option, you're choosing strength, you're choosing you, you're putting your health first, and the freedom that comes from that is self-discipline. That's amazing. Now, I want to show you what this looks like in practice. What does it look like to put this traffic light eating together? What does it look like to kind of shift from red to yellow? So I want you to imagine that you are building a bowl. I make a lot of bowls. It's so easy. You just layer them up, grains, beans, so many bowls. So imagine you're building a bowl. Here's how you can think through it. First, you need a base. For this example, we're going to choose mixed greens and some roasted vegetables. All of that is green. So our entire base is green. Next, we're going to add a protein. I usually default to either chickpeas or black beans, but you could do lentils, you could do white beans, so many choices for protein, seitan, tofu, the list goes on. Whatever you pick for this category is likely to be yellow unless you've deep fried it, then it's red, but let's not do that. Let's stick with the yellow for this example. Then we're going to add a grain. That could be quinoa, that could be brown rice, farro, barley, lots of choices here. I really do like sweet brown rice, the short grain. That one's really good. I digress. Pick your grain, add it to your bowl. Then you'll need some sort of fat. This could be avocado. This could be a tahini dressing. Again, these could be in the yellow category if you choose. So all of us together, this is balanced. This is very satisfying. You are absolutely reaching your fiber goals, which is important because last time I checked, only 7% of Americans reached their fiber goal. So again, we need to be checking our fiber goals. This meal, this bowl, you don't have to calorie count. We'll talk about calorie counting in another podcast episode. Might be the next one, maybe the one after. Either way, this is a very, very, very balanced bowl. You're getting a lot of vitamins. You're checking off all the macros, and it's not stressful. It's kind of like you throw in what you've got. Choose a base, choose a protein, choose a grain, choose a fat. That's it. It's just a very simple way to build a plate. So 29 minutes ago, I talked about staring at the fridge, not knowing what to make for dinner. And the thing is, this formula, traffic light eating, now kind of building this bowl together, it doesn't matter what's in your fridge. You know how to use it to build a plate that will satisfy you and will give your body the nutrients it needs. All right, so with this bowl, let's say you add a couple tortilla chips. I love crunching up some tortilla chips on top of like a rice and bean bowl, especially if I've added salsa as a topping and lime and a little bit of cashew yogurt. Chips are red, so you might pause. So how many chips am I actually adding? A couple chips? Did I read the ingredients? Is it a clean brand? So the point here is, yeah, you can have a few chips and you can enjoy them. You just don't eat the whole bag of chips. Either way, every choice that you've made to create this bowl is a conscious choice and you're not just autopiloting. All right, I want to talk about a case study. This is Sandra's pasta night transformation. If you've read my book, you've encountered this case study in my book. This is our example of Sandra who loves pasta night. And her usual go-to is boxed mac and cheese, has the buttery sauce, she has garlic bread. This is a classic red light meal. It's high in refined carbs, saturated fat, and it's actually pretty low in nutrients. Sandra decided to turn her favorite comfort meal into a yellow light, dairy-free version with a few swaps. So first off, she swapped out the pasta for a whole grain pasta. And because she did that, she just got more fiber into her meal. Instead of the powdered cheese sauce, she now makes a creamy roasted sun-dried tomato sauce. It's dairy-free. It has a lot of flavor. It's packed with nutrients. That particular recipe is in the back of my book, just so you know. Then she also added broccoli and cherry tomatoes for extra vitamins. Now, her garlic bread became a slice of whole grain toast with olive oil and fresh herbs. So as a result, Sandra's pasta night is still comforting, still hearty, still satisfying, but now she has a lot more fiber, a lot more energy. She's getting healthy fats, and she just added a whole lot of more antioxidants into her day. It's dairy-free and delicious. So this is just one way that you could take your favorite meals, make some changes, and make them so much more nutrient dense. All that to say, red light meals don't vanish. They just need some tweaks to turn them yellow. This whole system works because it is intuitive. It meets you where you are. It's not all or nothing. It is a spectrum. It is easy to navigate up and down the spectrum. And those small adjustments over time can be big results. Over time, you will find yourself craving more green light foods because they make you feel good. And that's the beauty of traffic light eating. Helps you build awareness, confidence, and trust in your body, one bite at a time. Also, want to say the framework is flexible enough to adapt to any diet, lifestyle, or cultural preference, whether you're gluten-free, vegan, paleo, or practicing intuitive eating. The traffic light lens helps you evaluate your choices so you can build a sustainable relationship with food. All right, we are at the point where I want to give you your weekly challenge, and your challenge is simple. I want you to look at one meal today through the traffic light lens. You don't have to change anything, just observe it. Look at your meal and say, what is green, what is yellow, and what is red? So again, awareness is always the first step to any change. You can't change something if you're not even sure what's going on. And awareness without judgment is the key to making a change that actually sticks. And curiosity can help you change a habit faster than guilt. Again, no guilt here. We are curious people. Curiosity. So that is your challenge for the week. Eating well does not have to be complicated. It does not require a calculator, a meal plan, or even perfect discipline. It just requires a system that makes sense. And remember, your fork is a powerful tool, not just for eating, but what you put on your fork can energize the life you want to live. Thanks for being here. Share this episode with someone who's tired of overthinking food. I will see you next week. If today's episode was helpful, take a moment to share it with someone who could use a little more ease around food and home. You can also leave a review. It helps more families find whole home living. For simple resources, practical tools, and upcoming workshops, visit wholehomeliving365.com. And remember, eating well doesn't require perfection. It just needs a system that works with your life. I'm Katie Trudeau. See you next time.